Anybody here? Is anybody here? Alright, here we are in the woodshed, as I don't never mind. Anyways, never mind. Anatoly. Yeah, Anatoly's woodshed. So what's up? Alright, we're doing analysis stream. Analysis Anatoly. Anatolia. Alright, so I've got just 2 games so far. We haven't probably seen them all. Let me grab what else we got. Let's see. Sparkle Horse, Inbox. Okay. Practicing always. Sorry I couldn't join. Sun Prism. I added Sun Prisms, I think. Did I add yours? I guess I didn't. Okay, so Sun Prism. Alright. Sun Prism did not get added yet. Here it is. Get PGN. Get PGN. Very grammatically correct. Get PGN. Copy. Learn. Study. My studies. My buddy. Alright, here we go. What's up? No Astrobate. Astrobate is gone. Sheeperspiller's online with some other friends of mine. Alright, we've got... So first game, Mad NPC. There's a game that I didn't know if Anti-Lizard, a.k.a. Riddler, Chess Riddler, intended this to be a submission for our stream or just he wanted to show me this game. But anyway, he sent me a message with the game in it, so I assumed it was for that. I don't even know if he's a subscriber. Probably not. And then Sun Prism, of course, is. So let's start with those guys. Man, NPC, I don't know if you can make it. Yobatis is here. What's up, Yobatis? Iobates. And welcome. Happy Thursday, everybody. Analysis stream. Whew. Boy, my summer tournament fundraiser really fell flat. We've never missed a fundraiser attempt, but this one didn't come close. It wasn't specific enough, I think. So, summer tourney fund. We have just 10 days left, and it reached just 350 with a $2,500 goal. Thank you, Donald Trump, for destroying the world economy. No one has any money to donate anymore. But hopefully that will change in the upcoming future. The future is always upcoming. But anyway, I was thinking 10 days to go on our fundraiser. I can continue to do like another summer tournament fund, or I can just shovel it forward to the World Senior. We'll see. Just realized it was just 10 days left on that. And Bogachag is our stream boss with 1,600 health left. So anyway, without further ado, we'll start with Mad NPC game, and then Sun Prism game. Is that in as black? No, I gotta flip this. Alright. Black orientation, save chapter, anti-lizard. I don't know if that's really a submission or not. We'll see. So, welcome everybody. This is my chess stream. I've been doing this for 10 years. I don't believe it. We've been doing this for 10 years. I started in like 2016, I think. Frightening as that may be. Alright, so Thursdays our analysis stream. We get games from our subscribers here on Twitch. We take the games, we put them in to a study, we analyze them together. If you are a subscriber, don't hesitate to send me a game. We can do up to 10 games. If you're not a subscriber, then become one. Alright, Mad NPC. So Mad NPC is white. And what did he say about this? An old game or something? Yeah. He said an old OTB game for Thursday. It's like a game he lost. It's 0-1. So that's not making sense. Actually, something's not. It says black 0, white 1, and then it says here it says 1-0. Rook c4, 1-0. So that doesn't make sense. Why is it? Is that the right game? Make sure this is the right game. It's a knight or Sicilian with 6 f3. Let's double check. Knight or Sicilian with 6 f3. Yeah, I don't know why the score is reversed. On the board it says 1 for white, 0 for black. This is really strange. And then if you go to the original there it says 1-0. Am I confused? I'm confused. I don't know why I'm confused. Okay, it's 1-0. It's 1-0. It's white wins, not white loses. Okay, e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4. Now another trick that black can play is knight f6. I mean, I think the knight f6 is a useful move. It doesn't have a lot of independent value. You know, you can't even really totally avoid the what's it called, Moscow variation, because after this cd4 has to be played, and you can still take with the queen. But I think here, you know, a6 is probably a good line. Black is not committed to putting the knight on c6 necessarily. All right, anyways, that's just another option for black. Is anybody alive here? Because I feel like I'm just, you know, doing a recorded video. C takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, the knight orf, and now white plays f3. So f3 and the move bishop e3 are, you know, similar, but slightly different. F3, and now black mostly, I think, playing a lot of e5. h5 is very popular in this type of positions because it's easy to play. You just shut down g4. However, on the downside, h5 is a little bit anti-positional, and it weakens the g5 square. You know, if white's bishop is already on e3, and bishop g5 is going to take another move. But on the other hand, if you play h5, for example, white might have to change plans, change gears to something like f4 later. So h5 is playable. g6 is Dragendorf. e6 is English attack. And also knight c6, a line I've played a lot with black, transposing to a classical. That's about it. One move I never considered here was like, okay, queen b6 is a move of sorts. Actually, that might be a decent move. Black can put pressure on d4 because the bishop's not on e3 yet. Tries to play like knight c6. Keep white focused on b2. Is there a difference between h5 now? Yeah, I mean, I would imagine there's always a difference. If you wait with h5 and white, you know, plays bishop e3, then I guess there could be the advantage that he's wasted the tempo on bishop e3, and like bishop g5 would be less attractive. But I mean, you know, okay, there aren't a lot of waiting moves, Spectacular Camel, for black here. Either you commit your central pawn with e5 or e6, you switch to a classical. I'm sure that like b5 is one of those moves that's going to get hit by a4. So I'm skeptical of playing b5 too early. In the Dragendorf, you could play h5 too. You could play g6 with the intention of playing h5 later, but what if black plays g6 and white plays g4? Here's a stupid question, right? What if you try to do a Dragendorf? What happened if you try to do a Dragendorf and white just was like, no, g4? It's never been played, oddly. Although I don't think it can be a bad move, really. I don't think the g6 is too popular in this line. Just 22 games. No, I would think like being, delaying h5 would be normal. What if you played something fluid like this? Well, he can play g4, but if he were to play bishop e3, now there's a bunch of h5s, for example. Korobov, Jeffrey, Jiang. It's an interesting question. I don't have your answers. So anyways, I don't know. b5 looks like you're walking into a4 to me. I don't know. I don't trust that. That seems like a bad idea. I mean, b5 in particular. So e5, e6, or e5, e6, knight c6 is usually not played by Najdorf players, or h5, or queen b6. Black played e5. This is probably the main move. And so white has theoretically 3 moves. But knight f5, I don't know why it doesn't seem right. Black can always play bishop takes e5 anyway. I had a game the other day. It was an h3 Najdorf where he did like knight f5 and I played bishop takes f5 and d5. So, I mean, you would think like this, but there's also this, right? Actually, yeah, that doesn't look great. So you usually go knight b3. This knight is pushed away from the center. Black typically plays bishop e6, getting the bishop to e6 before blocking it with knight d7. But I would imagine the h5 is an option now. The main move seems to be bishop e6. And traditionalists probably played this. But the question arises, like, well, if you do that, what happens if white tries to play g4? Do I have like a sack? This looks scary, huh? Damn, bro. Yeah. So, alright. Bishop e3 would typically be played. Then black can play h5. In the game we had bishop e6, and now there's this central push available for black with d5, which is not always good, and it's important to understand this. MVL used h5. Yeah, no, it's used a lot now. It's very, very trendy. Panacea type move. But what I'm trying to say, a lot of times d5 is not really like equalizing necessarily. Although f3 is more weakening than, say, like bishop e3 for white. So now you played bishop e3, and again, if d5 is probably not that great. You can see black has like no wins after d5, even though it's possible to play that. h5 became the main move. I'm gonna wager, Jesus, 9.7 thousand games. Does anybody want to bet that like 7,000 of those games are like correspondence games or something? I mean, h5 is a relatively newer idea in the Najdorf, and it's really only been played in the last like 20 years. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that there's like 9,700 games with that move from like over the board chess. I think clearly like a massive amount of those games are some sort of ICCF correspondence tournaments They love to do like theoretical variations like the Najdorf in those stupid. I'm sorry, but correspondence chess seems kind of stupid now that computers dominate. So h5 became the main move, though that was never the case. Like in the 90s, you would have been seeing, knight bd7 or bishop e7 here years ago. So h5 main line, and now white's most common move is knight to d5. And knight to d5, it's a bit counterintuitive. I looked a little bit at these positions with move 11 from white's perspective, and I think move 11, looked at some interesting stuff. We looked at queen d2, and we looked at bishop e2. I think there's some value to this bishop e2. White might choose a different plan now that black has played h5. Whereas normally this would be like a passive sort of thing to do. I'm not sure it's the same, like the calculus is the same now that black has played h5. We may change plans and play for f4. So bishop e2 is interesting here. This is like standard, I would assume, the best move. And then this move is a very forcing move, but it feels like white's moving the same piece twice, and it's very committal. I think the others are better, probably, objectively. At least in a practical sense, this or this. This, just black's going to do the standard thing, bishop takes d5, and then try to aim to like play with dark squares. It's simple. Bishop d5, e d5, and now black has probably, two plans, g6 or knight on bd7. If we play g6 for black, you have the bishop h6. If you play knight on bd7, you can try to negotiate black getting later like bishop e7, bishop d8, and the bishop out on that diagonal. Rook c8. Again, the vast majority of these games are probably correspondence games. Here. Now white, which way does white castle, for example? Traditionally on the queen side, but it's not automatic. Random PC is not here to contribute to analysis of this game, but I wish he was. So I had a training game with my student, move 11, a few months or a year ago, I don't remember, and he sacrificed the pawn on d5 in a similar position. And I rarely play the Najdorf, and I don't know it very well, but it was a very interesting game because white, by sacrificing that pawn on d5 to something like knight b6, knight takes d5, then the light squares open up, and white can have a lot of compensation. So we can see here this is a move, and immediately from the second game, check it out, correspondence. There are all these correspondence games, which are just computers against computers, with people sort of pretending they're playing chess. So only So versus Wojtaszek, and then probably some lower ones. Bishop e2 is a move. Instead of that, this is the traditional move. This supports a5. So one of the key ideas that white has is if black ever dares to move the b pawn, you've got an implant on a5 c6. Black has to really be careful about probably almost never playing b5. Unless that knight leaves b3 and goes back or something. As long as the knight can come into c6, black really can't move the b pawn forward. There's also these like queen trades with with queen a5, the knight can just go to a5 to like harass the b7 pawn. So queen d2 and black now played g6. So that's the correspondence, you know, main line or something. Queen c7 or rook c8 are also ideas. Right, right. So there's a line, you know, with queen d2, let's say here, here, and something like this, and then, well, I mean, there are positions where you sack this pawn. Maybe not this exact position, but this is the general kind of thing where it's possible that black has weaknesses on Madame PC's favorite light squares. All right, but doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. He plays g6. Now, with the queen on d2, if I were black, I'd probably go with this one. With the standard sort of stuff here. I don't know about rook c8. That apparently doesn't do as well. Well, people have actually played b5 here. I would think that's really, really, really dangerous to do that. It seems insane. Couldn't you just go knight a5 like right away? This is some kind of insane tactic here. Let's see. Knight a5, knight d5, knight c6, queen c7, queen takes d5, and then we have a trick like this. That must be the idea, you know, sneaky trick. But anyways, b5 is not a good idea for black. Abaswaeva didn't know what she was doing. Okay, so g6, and now the main move is bishop e2. You castle queenside. This is more traditional. But black's plan, you know, usually is to try to trade the dark square bishops. In addition, he can play bishop g7. If black can play e4, which is very possible, the bishop might be a dragon bishop on g7. King's Indian Defense, what's up? Tomorrow we'll be having a FIDE rated classic. A classic. Starting round one. Well, round one is how they start. Yeah, normally we start with round one. All right, so g6. But I mean here, I know move 11 was doing some lessons with a certain other trainer who was working on him with some Najdorfs, and this idea might be worthwhile. I mean, black's still going to play g6, secure the h5 pawn. And then everybody ended up going queen e2. There's some subtleties about this bishop e2 though that I'm not really expert enough to explain. Queen e2, g6, and now what? Okay, so knight b6 basically the number one move. Attacking the pawn. And if c4, it's too late, you know. So this is where you're talking about, yeah, you can take on b6, which is lame. Black's better. Or you can sack the pawn, because c4, you're going to get pressure here. You're still sacking a pawn, right? Like rook c8, knight a5, knight takes d5. This is the kind of game I had in a training game. I don't know. But, alright, black plays bishop g7. I don't like that as much. King b1, and now b5. Which is, like, strategically dangerous. So he's flirting with this business of knight a5, knight c6, which is what you did. Now, there are some relatively recent games here. I just don't really understand why black wants to do this, you know. And the other option seems safer. It's not like you're like attacking him or anything. Even rook c8, right? This is very committal. It weakens those squares forever. I mean, maybe it's not going to be easy to play a4. Yeah, c4 is definitely a move. This game, a couple games here. Structurally not good for white, but it's theoretically possible. I would think this would be a bit dangerous. Now white has this isolated pawn, and I don't know. I don't like c4. Knight a5 looks right. Black now plays knight b6. So yeah. But sacking the pawn is totally the idea. Now you can play what, like bishop g5? Does that do anything if you play bishop g5? Probably not. If you were to play bishop g5 and black were to take the pawn on d5, what would happen? Oh, you'd win a piece, right? So this is just a sort of artificial solution to the problem. Black just breaks the pin, and then you're still gonna have to deal with this. So the main line is h4, but you played knight c6 instead. And now black has to move the queen, queen c7, and now bishop takes b6, which I hate doing that. But it's the safest bet now. So by the by, is knight a5 white's best move? This is an interesting move. I would give up knight a5 though, and then like what happens if rook b8? Yeah, I don't trust this fully for white. I don't know. I don't like b5. It's very risky. Knight a5. Is it the white's best move? The white? Yeah, it is your best move. So knight b6 now. Can you sack this pawn without giving up your dark square bishop? I mean, who says you have to play knight c6 anyway? Let's say no c4. I mean, I guess the problem is that he's threatening to take with the f knight. Or you just, yeah, you just do something random. Let's say this, okay, theoretically. I could stick my bishop on e4. What happened here? If you take my pawn, I go here. What the hell is going on? This is better for white, dude. But maybe not clear. We came up with a TN here, bishop d3. But computer doesn't like it. Knight c6 is apparently best. That's computer. Okay, queen c7. Bishop takes b6. But this is, okay, now this is very concrete. All of the games in the database here, there's some named Beveridge. That's crazy. Colin Beveridge. They're all correspondence games, bro. You're like the only human being to ever play this game? That's crazy. But now you're entering in a situation where it's light squares against dark squares. And where's your pawn break? I mean, computer thinks that white is better because of d5, your space advantage. But the computer's a computer, it's not a human, and it's playing another computer. Are you sure this wasn't a correspondence game, dude? Ultimately, this looks scarier than this. I mean, the dark square bishop seems scarier than the light square bishop to me in the long run. If the queens get traded or something, then maybe it's irrelevant, but black should be fine. So c4. There goes the structure. You know, I don't know what I would do with white here. I mean, you know, how do you know this much about this variation? I mean, there literally, dude, there are no master games here. I mean, there may be in similar positions, but these are all correspondence games. It's really weird. There's just no human games at all. Yeah, I mean, it's safer to play this. This is going to damage your pawn structure. And now, so there's some counterplay against b2. I mean, will b2 be a problem later on? Yeah, e4 for black, of course. So, not just your structure is inferior, but I'm concerned about... Doesn't matter to these guys, they're playing with computers, you know? I guess. Let's double check. View. This game... No. This is some Russian tournament, some real tournament. Wow. Moscow. Mordor. Played in Mordor last year. The what? The IVGP Chess 2025, Moscow, Russia. These are young players I've never heard of. This was not a computer game, apparently. The second one, ICCF. Okay. So the first game, interestingly, Faiz Rachmanov against Akhmedov, is supposed to be some real tournament played in Mordor last year. White is 3-0 here. And I don't know. Easy for a computer to play and defend perfectly. Not so easy for you. Now, you played a4. It's like, what? There's no way I'm playing a4 in this position. I mean, I realize your knight is on c6. It's hard for him to attack you. Maybe I need more time to digest what's going on here. The idea of e4 does indeed seem important. But shouldn't you complete your development before you start stuff like a4? I mean, why rush with a4? To control e4, here's the correspondence games. Then they played a4. There's one game with e4. Again, computer against computer. Alright, so a4 novelty, knight d7. a5, queen b7. You have queenside majority, right? With opposite color bishops is dangerous with the queens on the board. Rook c1, rook b8. Excuse me? Wow. Yeah, I mean, rook b8 is really weird. I mean, black's majority is on the king side, and he wants to play probably stuff like e4. Wouldn't this kind of make more sense? Rook b8 is a ridiculous move, to be honest. And I mean, obviously you don't have to take the rook, and you probably shouldn't, objectively, but you could. I'm curious if the computer would probably take it. It doesn't, actually. Wow. Rook ab8 is better, but the best move is e4. No surprise there. This is a really crazy move by your opponent. Now e4, okay, and now f4. But f4, I mean, it does leave the opponent with a protected, well, likely to become protected pass pawn on e4. You're not obligated to take that pawn, but you're also not obligated to play f4. What about leaving the tension or taking the pawn? How do we decide to take, leave the tension, or play f4? Is your consideration here like controlling the e5 square? Is this the thing? Like, you don't want him to come to e5? Didn't want to allow knight e5. Uh-huh. Because it trades off your knight on c6. It attacks bishop on c4. Okay, fair enough. This is... I mean, I don't know what black is threatening. I guess he's not threatening anything. I mean, this is not really a threat. This black doesn't... I mean, maybe knight d3, actually. So you play b4. Okay. Here, exactly. He doesn't have to do that. Like, you're... I mean, I guess you're threatening... What? Why don't you move your king at some point off the freaking b file, man? He goes here. He doesn't have to move it right away. I mean, he will eventually have to do something. Starting with rook b8, though, I don't like his play. You know, the rook should be on e8, and in fact, if it were on e8, it would be supporting e3. It doesn't do anything on b8. And what does it do? It's like a hope chess that you'll take my rook on b8. So this also, I mean, I guess the point is, like, you'll move your king if you get a chance. So he's going to have to move his knight eventually. But I think this is good that, you know, you simplified. The position is more simplified now. He has, again, the e-file, only chance. So if you're playing like Aldisto or something, you'll probably lose. Bishop against knight, down a pawn. He has some compensation now with the e-file. And you have to consider seriously playing rook e2, and you did. Yeah. Okay, so if rook e2, queen d7, rook e2, queen d7, rook takes e8, what's happening? So after rook e2, he gives you the e-file? Because I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah, instead of knight d3, knight a4 was possible, but I don't think it mattered that much. White's going to put the king on a2, where it's safe on a white square. But why should black give up the e-file here? This is just dumb. Rook e2, queen e2, rook c8. What is that? Another hope chess? Like, cheapo. Why give up the e-file? So what's the point? Okay, if here, you just double, right? Well, that's fine, though. That's fine. And what's next? You know, say Say black just makes a waiting move, like this. I'm thinking your pawn is like blockaded, and you can't really grab the pawn on a6 without allowing black a lot of counterplay. This looks like it may be hard for white to even win. You know, I don't even know how we're going to win. We've kind of reached, you know, the position that's very technical now. King, yeah, it's only one pawn better for white. King, it's not easy, man. For a computer, maybe. But this is a huge mistake for black. Surrendering the open file. In my opinion, question mark. To play for this cheapo, rook c8. Hope chess that you'll play knight e7 check. Okay, I see. He wants to sack here. But you have rook c1. I mean, he has no threats after rook c1. Oh, you mean he still sacks? All right, queen c4, even better. So you have to go to c4. Why c4? Why not e4? Because you don't want to allow queen b5? Nah, he's dropping a... This may be better, dude. You want to keep an eye on his a6 pawn. Wonder if black could play f5. Maybe, why not? Yeah. He might even have f5. Okay. So queen c4, now rook e8. Now you lost the e-file anyway. This is hard, man. This is hard. You have to be a real technician and very, very careful here. I don't understand what rook e3 does. You know, realistically, queen d7 with a threat of like queen f5 might be a better try. But I fail to understand what this move does. What exactly is he threatening here? Yeah, but I mean, I think the point is if he's smart, he doesn't defend a6, you know? He goes here, he wants you to take this. Because the minute you take that pawn, it's like check and he's got some kind of counterplay. Yeah, maybe he's lost, but I mean, say take this pawn, bro. And it's like check, rook c2, this is getting not good, you know? The best way to defend a pawn is to not defend it, but play actively instead. This move is just artificial, it doesn't do anything. I mean, maybe he can swing his queen over and back it up with the queen like on e8 or something. Yeah, maybe he has a way to do like here, here. Okay, fair enough. Rook c2. Yeah, queen d7. Now, that wasn't necessary. What I just said is like, why not this? Okay, you have like b5 maybe, but it's a game. So now he goes here. Sorry, he goes queen d7 and you grab the pawn. That's kind of scary. He has a monster bishop and you're up 2 pawns, but who cares? You know, if you're getting mated, it doesn't matter. Here he has queen f5. He played queen g4. Queen f5 looks a little more direct to me. The best score on the board for his queen is probably like e4. He plays queen g4, but I mean, why not here? This isn't as well centralized. Okay, it has like this one threat again. Check. Okay, what does that do? Oh my god, that's what so you had it anyway. What? What? You blundered. Or you sacked this like purposefully. Wow, you sacked a piece to trade the queens. Interesting. Now you have 2 connected passwords, but it's probably not good enough. Jeez. At the very minimum, he'll sack his bishop for the pawns, but you might actually be lost. Oh my god. I would rather avoid this scenario. Yeah, but it's not it's not easy. True. I suspect you're probably lost here. But I could be wrong. You're definitely not winning. That bishop is worth those 2 pawns. Now, if he makes one mistake, maybe somehow you could be winning. I could be wrong. Okay, maybe we need to calculate this. He played rook a7. That doesn't look right. Rook in front of pawn. Not good. So, rook... I mean, the moves that look right here for black are either rook e4 or bishop d4. Rook e4 to get behind your pawns with rook b4 check. So rook b4 a6, rook e4 a6, rook b4 check. And he's gonna play a7. But I'm thinking like, okay, for example, rook e4 a6, rook b4 check, king moves a7. Sorry, rook takes b5 a7, bishop d4. Like this. But I mean, the problem with bishop d4 is that you block the rook out. So maybe rook check first. You know, rook e4 first, and then rook in, and then bishop here. It's a draw, according to the engine. But I mean, the initial position looks close. b5, let's check. Rook e4 is best, and I'm wrong. White is better. I mean, there's no way bishop f8 is a good move. I really thought that black had better chances here. So black has to be very, very accurate to draw. Rook e4 is best. And not a6. a6 is a mistake. Your best move is king c2, rook b4, b6, and now bishop d4. So it looks like we're going to get some technical rook endgame. That's probably a draw. If rook c7, it's a draw. If rook c6, he keeps the tension. You keep the tension. But it looks like it's still a draw. So it's probably just a draw. It's objectively a draw. But this move is wrong. You know, you do not want your rook in front of the passed pawn. Now it has no mobility. It's like jammed in there on a7. That's bad. This rook has no mobility here. It's a huge problem. Now, you're probably going to get to some winning rook endgame where he's only able to sack his bishop for like 1 pawn or something. But I mean, this is insane. Like, you can't be taking that pawn, man. You're threatening rook takes d6, though. And the problem is if you go here, he needs his king like on e7. If he goes here, you probably have the rook sack, right? I think you're just winning. This has got to be winning. He's like pretty slow here. Yeah. You're winning with the 3 pawns. I don't know if he can save it after rook a7. He's probably lost. But I don't think there's any way you're saving it with your bishop on h2. Ooh, not good. Not good. Check. And then like rook b6 or what? Rook c, okay. That's it. Alright. Yeah, good game. Alright, that was a nice resource that you found with the queen trade. That was great. Our director, are you a subscriber? King's Indian Defense is not a subscriber. Analyze game by Volkov. Yeah, Volkov. Oh, you should get a game against Volkov with an IMSO. Oh my god. Our director, the guy's like living f3 Nimzo expert. You should have been black against him and played the f3 Nimzo. Okay, get PGN. You're supposed to be black. We could play our f3 Nimzo variation. Volkov's a strong player. In the early 2000s, he was in the Russian championships, and he was way up in the 2600s. I met him once. He was a friend of mine who was his friend. Alright, so add a new chapter. Paste. Okay, so that game's for later. We got Sun Prism now. Guys, anybody else with games? Don't forget to subscribe and gift subs. I gotta step out for a minute. I'll be right back, alright? So, send in the donations. Flood the stream with donations and gift subs and hype trains. I will be right back in 1 minute. Okay, so we're back. Analysis stream. Welcome everybody. So this is Sung Prism with black against I don't know, online opponent. 1966. This is rapid or classical. Let's see. Rated classical game on Lichess. Okay, so e4, e6 for black, d4, d5, e5, and c5 is almost universal. Having said that, I'm not a French player, but you can consider other options, obviously, to maybe throw white a little bit off. Knight e7 I've seen. Petrosian even played this, you see. There's games by Vaganyan, not a good score. Okay, what else? b6 and bishop d7. But alright, c5. And now white with the main line, c3. And then here, this is important because this Milner-Barry Gambit has been sort of resuscitated back into a real thing that has very good practical results. So black has to be well prepared for this. It's an easy system for white to play, kind of formulaic, and so at your level, Sung Prism, at the 2000s, the level between say 2000 and 2200, I think this is the place you're going to get this a lot. It's a club player system, especially. Having said that, it's not easy to play with white with a space advantage. But you know, I think the one thing I don't really trust is this queen b6 necessarily being the main line. Okay, knight c6 first, normal. Again, you can consider other options like bishop d7, knight c6, fine. And now white normally always plays knight f3. Other than knight f3, yeah, there's only this move. This is interesting. So this is the Kuprejcik. Kuprejcik system. Kuprejcik. I keep remembering this friend of mine from Poland who loved Kuprejcik games, and Kuprejcik, he would say. I'm sure I don't pronounce it correctly. Kuprejcik was a Belarusian grandmaster who died a few years ago. An innovative, aggressive player with interesting systems. My Polish friend, you know, Poland borders Belarus, so I imagine Eastern Poland has like a very close kind of connection to Belarus, and in the Soviet era, of course, practically the same state. So, bishop e3. White often is forced to play queen b3 in response to queen b6, but is queen d2 a thing? Yeah, that's what he does. But anyway, here I think you need to think outside the box and see if there's any other possibilities for black besides the standard line. I mean, queen b6 obviously is a good move. Attacking b2, putting pressure on d4, but it's also the main move. I wonder if there's any other interesting ideas here for black. So apparently knight e7 and knight h6 are both played with success. If you go down that road, right, with one of those moves instead, what we might get is white taking on c5, and no, but bishop e3 it's a sideline. I remember it was featured in somewhere, some major source I saw, like probably New in Chess years ago. New in Chess yearbook. Someone did an article on this. It's probably 15, 20 years old now. I don't remember. I don't think it was Kuprejcik himself. I don't know. But I think someone put together a bunch of example games and did a New in Chess yearbook article on bishop e3 in the early 2000s or late 90s. But you know, rather than react automatically with queen b6, which is probably like the main move, if we were to go, say, here, threatening knight f5, what does white do? Does he take this pawn? And if he did that, like, well, then we have knight f5. So that's really not good for white, is it? Hitting that. Same thing with knight h6. Heading for f5, maybe very rarely to g4. But knight e7, we can play either knight f3 or bishop d3. Bishop d3 is against knight f5. So here's Kuprajcik versus Kashishvili in 2001. I don't know what Georgie was doing playing Kuprajcik. Probably some European championship or something, because Georgie was living in the States. I played him around that time in Philly. But he went back and forth between Georgia and the United States, so he could probably play the European championship, fly back to live in New York. There's some other games. Glazerov has a couple. So if knight f5, white snaps this in one game. Pawn takes. What's the evaluation of that, for example? Slightly better for white after knight e2. Anyway, it's something to think about. Alright, so queen b6 is the main move. And then, is this an option? Why are there 0 games with this move? I think I played this in a blitz game with white once. Is this just possible to straight up refute it? Is it knight a5, like Petrosian style? Is that? Interesting. 0 games where this has ever been played. So there's something better for black. You just trade, and play f6. Would you know to do this? So apparently, I mean, let's look at the Elite Chess Opening Explorer. Like, how many games are we going to find? A lot, right? Look. I'm actually almost surprised that there's not more games with queen b3 than queen d2. Queen c2 is bad. But this is a common answer to queen b6 and all the queen pawn games and whatnot. c4, not a great move, I would assume. So check this out. Even h5 makes the list. The best line is queen takes b3, giving up the a file. C takes d4, c takes d4, and now bishop e4 check. And I believe I had a game like this where I did like king d1 with white. Actually, why would I do that though? You can play knight to c3. But okay, it's fine for black. It's slightly better. There was another interesting line though. Queen b3, a b3, pawn takes pawn, and f6. Now f4. Knight on g to e7. Or knight h6. White has more space, but he's slightly overextended. Anyway, good to know what to do here, you know, if this is to occur again. Queen d2 is Kuprajcik's move. That much I remember. So the knight can go oftentimes a3 to c2. But, so you see, like, Kuprajcik Dolmatov, 1992. Dolmatov was a student of Dvoretsky, one of his most famous students. And he did play the French. You see here, there's some games with knight h6. That's a cool move. I like knight h6. Again, three Kuprajcik games. What did you do? You played c takes d, releasing the tension right away. There's a huge problem with c takes d. It might be the worst thing to do because you're actually solving the problem of development of his knight. And bishop b4, it's nothing. You know, he's not afraid of bishop b4. He's just going to stick the knight on c3. So you don't really gain anything by this exchange. Meanwhile, is white threatening anything? And what is he threatening? He's threatening nothing. His goal is to just consolidate the space advantage. Bishop d7, it's a move. That was Dolmatov's first reaction. But I kind of like I like this idea of putting pressure on the obviously this isn't so clear here. But knight h6, because you can't take twice on h6. We're not afraid of this. This is good for black. This is a transition to a very good 3 a.m. defense. No harm in bishop d7 first. Well, I mean, time is wasting, as they say. With knight h6, you're threatening knight f5. And I don't like bishop takes h6. You can play bishop d7 whenever, but, you know, this is important to put pressure on him. Bishop d7 doesn't really put any pressure on him. I mean, maybe you have threats of rook c8 and knight b4. This is more formative. I think attacking the center should be the first priority. If he plays knight f3, we play knight f5. You know, if he takes here, it's like, okay, fine. But, I mean, what's he going to do? Does he have, like, b4, like Bronstein? No. Here. Let's check this out. So, Kuprajcik, all weaker players. There's an Ullman game from 2006. Karparov. So this apparently is a mistake to allow that, huh? Why couldn't he take on c5 on the previous move, by the way? If you play knight h6, why not take here right away? It's basically the same thing, isn't it? Apparently it's not. Wow. It's a lot worse. It's a lot worse. Not even close. Wow. So interestingly, the computer's favorite move is f6, only played in a handful of games. Here's a game Huang Trong played it. She's played the French as far as I can remember. As long as I can remember. That's a somewhat risky move. Alright, let's see what he did though. I don't like c takes d. It's Kuprajcik, Farago, Ivan. You're going to be in the list of victims. Bogarashi, Huang Tran. This apparently is a mistake. You have knight b4. They can't save their light square bishop. So if they go knight f3, the point is, if knight b4, you have back. I mean, Tibor knows what he's doing. I mean, he wrote articles for New in Chess. And he read the ones that were there. He probably played this game, you know. He could have even, for all I know, he was the one who wrote the article. I mean, he did write articles for New in Chess. He could have even done the Kuprajcik article, though I don't remember him playing it. offhand. Anything's possible. It was around that time. But that's the idea. The bishop comes back, and then your knight's hanging out to dry on b4. Not a threat. So this is a funny move by white. Knight e2. He doesn't want to interfere with his f-pawn, but he's allowing you to go knight b4. So you had to play knight b4 there, because now it's too late. Now it's not too late. But if he goes knight c3, what are you going to do? Good old Adolf Herzog, who I played in 1996. 1-0. Here, sorry, 0-1. That was 1-0. I was 0-1. I beat him. Bishop b1. What is the point of this? What is black doing now, you know? Frederick played knight a5. Okay, fine, but I mean BFD. I can play b3. The c3 has so much protection. Poor Frederick. It was too late. It was too late. Damn. So you missed your window there to play knight b4. Very important move. Rook c8, and then he misses it. So again you have knight b4. Trading off his good bishop. You're fine after that. I'm not saying white is necessarily worse, but after this, it's a typical scenario. You have less space, but you have really effectively no bad pieces. And even your bad bishop is fairly active, as weird as that might sound. That is not a bad piece, that bishop on d7. Alright, so knight takes d3. This happened, actually. Castles, knight b4. Good, good. Okay, so you found it. Better late than never. That's exactly the game. Oh, wow, okay. So takes, and now knight f5. Yeah, you're like equal. Grabbing the pawn is not an option. And then, what is that? a3? Dude doesn't have a late square bishop, and he's playing a3. I mean, maybe he's thinking about, like, you taking the pawn on b2. I don't think that's an option. I guess we reached the point where white is theoretically a tiny bit worse. Neither of these pawn moves is really attractive, but if I had to make a pawn move, I'd rather play b3. Well, even there, I mean, you have, like, probing bishop moves. It's not fun for white. What's his best move here? I would probably vote for queen d2. You don't weaken anything. He always has the pawn recapture on e3. And just, yeah, he's okay, you know. He has a space to offset your bishop pair. But a3 weakens these light squares. That doesn't look like a good idea. Here this is like suicide, dude. He's totally giving up c4. Now, if he were to get into c5 permanently, it wouldn't matter that you get access to an outpost on c4. But how the heck is he going to do that? This is terrible for white. Now you decided to trade on e3, but I don't know about the timing of this. The obvious move is castles, you know. I mean, what to say? If he does something crazy like g4, I'll take his bishop. You have f6. You have bishop e8, bishop there. You have the c file. You maybe have a5. You have all the things. This tactic doesn't work because your bishop protects the knight on f5. So I don't know. This isn't necessary to do this now. And I really thought white would, like, 100% take with the pawn in this position, because it secures his center. But I mean, a3 and b4 is a terrible idea for white. But why not take with the pawn? I mean, at least now the d4 pawn is like secure. He takes with the queen. Now this remains like a liability. You're gonna play rook c4. So he plays that. Okay, that's a problem. f5 is a threat. It's a real threat. I mean, f5, f6, and you're lost. He's got f5, knight f4. We really don't want to see him playing f5. f5, knight takes d5. I mean, I think that you probably exchanged on e3 at the wrong time. So, what are our options here? Bishop e5. g6. f5. Now what you did looks risky because you're walking into f5. But I suppose if he takes on a5, you take with the queen and then you can take on f5. Well, but the big question would be if he goes f5 directly. He's got to do this. I mean, it's his only chance. This is a very, very strong move. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you have some kind of reasonable defense here. But, you know, you've got to consider this a mortal threat. If you take, he might recapture. He also might have f6. You could play f6 yourself, which is getting really weird, for sure. Does this work? Yeah, it's shaky. So a5's, it's the wrong time, man. You got to defend against this threat of f5. I'm thinking bishop b5. So if he takes, you take. If he plays f5, you can take. And then he has a better structure, but you should have enough counterplay along the c file here and your a5 thing. It's about equal. The other option that needs to be seriously considered is g6. Because that's a whole different, you know, what do you call it? A whole different, that's a whole different can of worms. I mean, maybe he does f5 anyway, right? But if you take with the g pawn, it doesn't seem like he's quite there, you know. His attack isn't there. You have king h8, rook g8 too quickly. I don't think he can just play f5 right away. And if he does like g4, no. I mean, you're going to go here. In other words, he has to prepare this f5. So I think that g6 is a viable option. But this is not. Now he misses f5. Best move for sure. After f5, white's probably better. The computer finds a great defense though, king h8. This is... f6 didn't quite work. King h8, idea f6 takes, and then you can use the g file. So king h8 seems to defend. So maybe that was your idea, I don't know. So if you find this king h8, the magic of the dark squares. Looks like your attack on the queen side is faster than the attack on the king side. The important thing is f6 can be mapped by takes, bishop d6. And you've got defense. And he's overextended. But he misses it. He plays b takes a. Okay, now you've got a lot of options. You take with the queen. F5 is not really serious because you could just take it. Your queen's defending now. So without F5, white has no plan and no attack. And now his redundant knights are tied down to each other. Rook FB1, BFD. Here I would just play like B6. But Rook C7 is good too. And then A4, which weakens B4, but gives him this. It's apparently a question mark. Rook C8, and then Knight B5, which was his plan. It looks logical. It doesn't look terrible. I don't know why the computer... Okay, it doesn't make fun of Knight B5. It doesn't like your move, Bishop takes B5. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to. You have a lot of options. You have Rook C2, Rook C4, Rook C6. 3 different rook moves. I mean, Rook C2 is the obvious one, most active. Rook C4 attacks A4, also very tempting. You have to watch out for 96. Maybe he'll play 96. You know, here 96, and then a transferal of game to what is ostensibly like a bad bishop versus knight, but structure plays an important role here too. Structure, coordination. White's knight sucks. You know, it just sucks. I mean, it's not getting to an outpost. So bad bishop is stronger than the knight there. So this is, yeah, you play too safe, basically. I mean, you got to consider A7, obviously. But unfortunately now your queen is really passive. I still think that you're probably fine. Better though? Maybe not. Now G6. Okay, it's a question mark, it's a dubious, because it's not the most active, but it's a reasonable move. Rook A2. Now King G7, but you have a ridiculous amount of time. You didn't use your time. So you're playing classical like it's, yeah, Acerbate. It's Acerbate in a classical arena. You have 25 minutes left. How about breaking, you know? Like F6. Oh, he has Rook B6. Okay, this is a problem. I see. He just defended his E2 knight. But Duke can get mated with some Rook B1. Seriously. You gotta look at stuff like F6, Rook B6, Rook here, check. Unfortunately, he has King F2. So, alright. But King G7 doesn't impress me. It's probably not terrible. You could also play King H8, B2, Rook A8, okay. And then what do you do on Rook takes B7? Rook B7, Rook B7, Queen B7, Queen A4, Queen E7, Queen A1 check, winning the Rook on B2. Okay. So, but you played well, too safely, let's just say. Too fast and too safely. But still, maybe you're better. I mean, he's overextended. The queens are still on the board. This move in particular looks weird, because now D4 is weak. When he plays knight C3, it's like beep, 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 beep. The D4 pawn has no guardian at all. That's a weird move to play. What's he doing? You know, he's going to sack a knight on B5? It's a really bad move, knight C3. That's straight up horrible. That knight was well placed defending his center. I mean, it was passive, but at least it defended the center. This is one of many good moves for you. He goes back, of course. But now after Queen C4 or something, let's just say here, 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 here. mean, you're probably not worse for like bishop a3. How is he gonna like attack f7? Okay, so you did this again, like super cautious to an exaggerated level, and then g4, and that's a little scary because this might be a legitimate threat. Now you played h6. Maybe you need to offer trade of queens. a4 is hanging. If he takes, man, I think he's like borderline lost. Maybe not lost, but he's definitely worse after this. Peter doesn't think he's worse. I can't believe it. He has a5. That's insane. Pawn takes a5. Wow. You have c3. So he's not actually lost or worse. It's probably a draw. But I would still play queen c4. Now he has f5. And now the d5 pawn is weak. Your structure is bad. Yeah, but you have active chances against his king. If he wins the d5 pawn, he has a strong passer. The pride and joy of the French defense, you know, the pawn on d5, isn't gonna hang on too much longer. Yeah. Your move is okay, apparently, f4. You're distracting him to get the queen c1 check. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see it. That's the point. So now he blundered, finally, taking your pawn. So why is it so bad to take this pawn? It looks logical. Wow, f3. f3. Holy shit. Oh my god, what a move. I bet you he didn't see that one. Oh no, after he trades queens, you know, his two pieces are hanging. Well, the other possibility is queen c1 getting mated. So you're telling me he has to play knight g1 here? This seriously looks like the only move. I love it. That's a great move, though, right? That's a fucking great move. How do you play for a win after knight g1? Everything's covered. His queen's protected. He keeps his d4 pawn. f3 is hanging. Double attack, mind you. The only way you can keep your f3 pawn is if you trade queens and play rook c3, which is not off the table. Trade queens and play rook c3, or let's see. You're not really threatening anything. It's a draw, probably. That's a great move, though, f3. Now, how does he survive after this? He sacks a piece? He doesn't survive. Yeah. Yeah, so you're telling me, like, knight g1 is the guy's only move? Yeah, but it still loses. So you do have a win after knight g1. It's not easy to see, though. This is like a tactic puzzle. Queen takes queen, rook takes queen, and rook c1. So that defends the pawn. Of course, I would never know that black is winning here, necessarily. The pawn is like one step away from being gone. How do you protect it? Bishop h4? You don't protect it. It's his move. Rook f2, rook a4, rook takes f3, rook a1. Wow. And rook g3, check. King f8. And white is lost? Excuse me, I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean that's extremely hard to imagine. I don't even now. It doesn't look easy to win. There's no way I would have found this. Um, I would have been thinking that it's probably like slightly better, but maybe white's not even lost. Apparently, he's so paralyzed there that he's okay. You've got this pawn maybe. But let's say like rook b5, bishop h4. Oh, you have bishop f2. But that's the beautiful, beautiful point at the end. Bishops are stronger than knights. Okay. Now you win a piece. Yeah, you were patient, a little too solid, but the white player wasn't up to standard in this game. All right. I'm going to go to Iatan. The other game, I don't know that that's even a submission. What else do we have for games? Good game, Sun Prism. That's a serious system. But, I mean, it's a subtle system. And I really wouldn't expect, actually, Kuprejcik played that, right? But he didn't even have that great of a score with it. I mean, whenever he played it with, like, top players, he was, like, happy to get a draw or something. He just, like, defending his system, even though he kind of knew it, like, doesn't offer white any advantage. I think that Kuprejcik was just proud to invent his own system and have it named after him. Objectively, getting a draw against Dolmatov with white pieces was okay because he was a stronger player. The other funny thing about it is that Kuprejcik, like Tal or Onesmedinov, was renowned as a sort of tactician, but that's really not a tactical line. It's a very sort of strategic system for white, which is kind of funny. All right, let's see who else is here. So we got Iatan against Volkov. So what is this game? Endgame online game. Endgame online game. Volkov is rated 1837. Things are getting tough in Mordor. All right. 20 years ago, the guy was playing in the Russian Championship. B3. I'm sorry you didn't get to play him with black because you had a nice. No, actually, what do you play with black? You don't play the Nimzo. You play the F3 Nimzo. It would have been funny though if you had played his own system against him. Is what I'm saying. If he happened to play the Nimzo. I don't know what Volkov plays with black. Probably like semi-Slav or something. I don't remember. So, b3, d5, bishop e2. I've played a lot with bishop g4. So he just plays like a standard move here. Notice that bishop g4 has a much higher winning percentage. I've had excellent results with this move, except for the time. No, actually, I don't think I've ever lost with it. Okay. Knight f6, bishop. Let's see, knight f3, bishop f5. So he just plays a standard, boring London system. Can I have some King of the Hill ELO points? Can't do that. I don't have a King of the Hill rating. There, I can't help you. I am unrated. But it's just a clickbait. I'm analyzing games here. And you're getting rating points by getting better. You're not directly getting rating points. I'm indirectly helping people gain rating points. That's the gimmick. You're not getting the points directly. They'll be gained by osmosis. So rating points can either be created or destroyed. Actually, they can. Bishop f5. A lot of rating points are being destroyed these days. Bishop f5, e3, e6, and now white plays d3. But the main moves in this position would be fill in the blank. There are three primary moves, right? c4, it's a reversed London. c4, bishop e2, playing it like a Queen's Indian in reverse, or g3, playing a kind of double fianchetto. The move d4 is fine. It's another opening. It would transpose to a kind of Zukertort Collie attack. But I don't really love blocking my bishop on b2. So my preference here would probably be like c4. That's the most dynamic move. I don't think that g3 is bad. And d3 isn't so bad. But I don't know. I think that g3 is a bit more flexible. All right, d3. Now black should probably go for c5. Now that you don't have bishop e5 anymore. But he's a grandmaster. Playing what? What, a random game? A simul? What is this? Okay, a lot of people don't want to play, they want to play London type setup. They're not interested in trying to play c5. But when you play d3, I think this becomes a realistic possibility for black. It's actually surprising that there's 23 games here and no one played c5. It's the fourth best move for black, but they're all 0.1. After d3, black is better by 0.1. h6, bishop d6, bishop e7, or c5. The thing is, the formulaic London system players, this is outside the box for them. But obviously, if Volkov is former Russian championship player and a former 2600, he understands how to play, different types of positions. But he's in the mood to play a standard kind of London. Okay, whatever. Bishop e7, laid on bd2, castles, bishop e2. By the way, you have this move, but it's not necessarily a big deal. I mean, black can go here. He can give you his bishop with bishop g6. Oddly enough, no one played knight h4 in this position. So castles now here, and now he goes h6 to prevent knight h4. And Heinal Zoli has a game for 2023. Hungarian IM. Draw. That's a surprise. So castles, and now Volkov plays c5. A little surprising, because he could have played that move earlier, a5 is a typical move. That's been played 3 times. a5 would leave black's options open to play c6 or c5, depending on what happens next. Anytime you're playing the Queen's Indian, you've got to watch this bum rush pawn and how to handle it. If a5, do you play a4 or a3? Because I'm not sure. If you ask some people, they're very dogmatic. Mark Ginsburg says you always play a3. That's bullshit. That's dogma. It's very possible that a4 is better than a3. Particularly dangerous are these ideas where like a5, a3, c5, white makes some passive move and then a4. It's very easy for black to actually get the upper hand with this a5, a4 type action. So if you're facing that, I mean, it might be better to play a4, depending on the situation. c5, and now here there's someone played c4. That's totally reasonable, right? Romain Edouard played that. This is the normal move, I would think. You're playing ready, basically. If you're not going to play c4, what are you going to do in this position? You're going to make e4 tactically work somehow? Natalia Sorokina played knight e5. It's a reasonable move. But I like c4. You played knight e5. Okay. Yeah, now knight c6 is bad because you double the pawns. So this player here on the list played knight fd7. I mean, oftentimes that's done, and there's like a logic for it. Maybe black wants to trade the knight off and then place the other knight on a good square on c6. There's also bishop f6. If you trade, I can take with the queen and put the knight on c6. Although it's very possible this is like dead equal. We just trade everything and it's totally equal. So knight e5, knight on bd7. Not as good for black because they can't get the knight to c6. Knight fd7 is probably better. Yeah, you could play f4. The f4 is not a move to be played lightly. This is a risky-ish setup. Oh my god. Popchev is 2157. He's a grandmaster that beat me in a tournament in 2001. Bro, that's ridiculous. The guy's not even that old. He's not even that old. I don't think he can be more than 60, early 60s. He must sell his rating points. I mean, that's the only possibility. The guy wasn't very high rated even back in 2001. He was like 2360 or something. I mean, this is ridiculous. There's that guy Zyatinov who's like 1900. He also probably sold all of his rating points. But this is rating point marketing. So you're supposed to be playing Volkov. I don't know. I haven't seen any sign of like a 2600 playing black yet. Bishop h7. And now h3, which is a strange move. h3 is a strange move because you could play g4 if you want to already. You don't need h3 to play that move. And h3 will weaken your position slightly. So I don't see any real upside in h3. Bishop f3 is kind of a normal idea. c4, though you have to watch your d3. Maybe a4 to stop b5, kind of secure the queen side. Queen e1, sometimes going here, in conjunction with like g4. Black on the queen side, b5, c4. That's a possible plan. Rook c8, b5, c4. But h3 I don't like. Now I played rook c8. See, ideas b5. Very logical. Now you did something that I normally don't like to do. You moved your d knight. This guy is guarding c4, guarding e4. That's his job. Gita B. Who is that? No, Pili M. Pili M, welcome back. So this knight does its job securing these squares, and it's not bothering anybody. It's performing its defensive function and also supporting, e4 later, holding up c4. So h3 is bad, but also this is bad. I don't understand this move. This is doing an important function. It's stopping black from playing c4. You should play a4 probably, anticipating b5. And white is not worse. Again, I would like to take back the move h3. I don't understand what that does. It has no positive value. It just wastes time and weakens your king side. So now you did this, and Volkov's like, yeah, I'm playing for c4. And now you did g4, which is something you should have done. If you wanted to do this, you should have done it directly, with your knight on d2 and the pawn back on h2, in conjunction with something like maybe king h1. I mean, it's possible that h2 could be, in some cases, depending on where black's queen is, you know, your king could maybe benefit from having that Luft square. So boom! Now I'm on page with thinking this could be a grandmaster playing black. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He's very decisive. Playing the c4. The thematic pawn break. And, you know, he's threatening c3, spatially crushing you. You should have never moved your knight off of d2, because that holds up c4. It's like, you've seen those statues where, like, there's a giant holding up, like, a pillar or something? The knight on d2 is doing that, you know? But now he gets it in. So normally I would take toward the center. Look at the riddle me this. Riddled with holes. You're riddled with bullet holes. If take 94, there's this. Which wouldn't be possible if you hadn't played h3. So, like, best case scenario, you, like, win a pawn, he has full compensation with a lot of weaknesses in your position. So c4 should never have been permitted. By the way, like, you could have played this. Keeping him shut down. You know, he has a lot of angry pieces that are blocked by that pawn on c5. So takes, keeping e4 under control. If he takes, you take with the knight. c4 probably much better than allowing it. Now you traded knights. What's the plan? What's your plan? After this move, it looks to me like you only have one reasonable move. Although, I don't know if there's anything else. You could swap once on, I'm assuming he's taking toward the center, and then maybe you have more than one move. But I mean, I don't really want to allow c3 shutting my bishop down, so you have to go here. Black is better. He's attacking the base of your pawn chain. He already has reached out and has begun pressuring you, and you don't have any pressure on him. So c3 is catastrophic. Now he has access to d3, access to e4. This is inaccurate according to the computer, but I mean, I think it's logical. He trades toward the center. Maybe he missed something, you know. I think he missed or forgot that his b5 pawn was hanging. So this is better. Although that might involve sacrificing a pawn. He has to watch his b5. I don't know, maybe it's not hanging, but yeah, you have knight d4. You're threatening bishop takes b5, queen b6, knight d4. Volkov knows he's better here, but how much better? Now he's threatening this. And you're telling me he hung a pawn here with knight c5. Do you have any threats? I mean, obviously a6. An alternative for black is bishop c5. Looks like just a blitz game where he played too fast. He dropped a pawn. And now, you know, you're up a pawn, but you have a bad bishop and he has compensation. Boom. Now you're not up a pawn anymore. It's now white's fighting for a draw. The knight is nice, but he can always trade it off. So his bishop is worth at least a knight. Right? This move is ugly. So after rook c8, we need a plan of defense here. He can't make progress without getting your knight out of d4. So I think you should play king e2 first. And if he plays something like bishop f6, you defend the knight with a rook. When he takes, you take with a rook. And when he penetrates here, you can avoid maybe exchanging both rooks. Even the king and pawn game might be a draw. But, you know, so he's got to be careful. He plays this, which is kind of an awkward way to do it, putting his bishop on c5, but I suppose it's fine. You know, he wants to do that, pressure that. You kind of lost the tempo there. King f8, and now rook what? Rook d2, okay. And then I expected black to play bishop b6. Because his bishop's, you know, interfering with his rooks. This is fine. I suppose he didn't, I don't know why. He also could play king e7. That's a very logical move. Instead, he played rook c7. That's just weird. That's a very strange move. And then white wins after king e2. I'm assuming this is some sort of time win. All right. I don't know what the rules were or what the situation was. The final position is slightly better for black. He's down to 20 seconds. Yeah. I would just play bishop b6 or king e7. Computer likes g5. But I feel like that's a little on the committal side. I think I'd rather go with this and wait and see what's happening. So apparently it likes g5. g5 makes sense though, because it prevents you from using your pawn on h3. This also is a problem here. If you ever trade, then you have an isolated pawn and his pawns increase in value, and he might even be able to play e5 later on. So it was a good game by Volkov. I mean, he was better, and you had definitely misplayed the opening. All right, so is that it? What else we got? What else we got? Any other games? Pili M, do you have a submission for us? Does anyone else have games? I can show this game that it's kind of crazy, but this is what Chess Riddler, I don't think he's a subscriber though, but I can just show you. Chess Riddler played e4, g6, d4, bishop g7, c3, d6, f4. This is an old line against some grandmaster I assume is Miran Lucian. It's a Romanian grandmaster. This is a blitz game. 3+2 or something. 3+0. But you know, M's here years ago came up with the best move for black, which not everyone knows about. Now, by the way, first of all, I had this game. Okay, yeah. Once I played f4. F4 is a different story. F4 is a different story. If you play f4 right away, black should play c5. You played c3. That's a standard anti-modern. Black plays d6. Now f4. Now I'm thinking c5. But I know what it is. I know what it is. It's not c5 right away. First we play knight f6. And then on bishop d3 we play c5. And the point is, if d takes c5, black plays knight c6, I think. Or maybe castles. Castles. Check this out. It's castles. So Jared Welling did this in 2013. Maximovich Zuzana played it in 1993. I saw a game by David Norwood around the same time. Around 1993. And Norwood wrote a book on the modern defense, so he would know. He had already published his book on the modern defense around this time, around 1993. This is a very, very dangerous gambit. And I had a colleague who played against Norwood with white, and the game was never published as far as I know, but white lost the initiative very, very badly here. So this is the best way to go. But instead of playing knight f6, by the way, like e5 is possible. Sveshnikov, Tal. Wow, Tal lost to Václav Laszlo in 1977. I didn't know that. That's very cool. I played Laszlo a few times before he died. So bishop d3, and now, yeah, that's that line. So after f4, black plays a6. This is the Kraken it's a modern. It's like a Tiger's modern, okay? Not a Kraken. But after knight f3, black plays b5. And so we have, I would think like a4 is good. I mean, b5 feels a little early. Maybe black should just play like 97 and keep their powder dry. Here's a Moksulu game. Keeping flexible. Alright, so b5. a4 is very strong, naturally. Anti-Lizard played, or Chess Riddler played knight a3. Black plays knight d7. It's a totally standard Tiger's modern setup for black. And now you play knight c2, which is rational. But there's a problem, right? If black plays c5, he's going to be threatening c4 because your knight's on. All right, so c5, what do you do? Like knight e3? This is a blitz game, and Miran Lucian maybe played quickly, but this is the most natural move. So now if knight e3, that way you can go back. Okay, that's fine. I think he should have played c5. So apparently, your best move is e5 now, which gets very crazy. And that's similar to the game. So you played knight c2, he played e6, which is not as good as c5, probably. Bishop e3, developing. And this is apparently a mistake. So what are you supposed to do now? a4, you never use that idea. Castles is okay. So this isn't really necessary. I think there's also a problem with the move bishop e3. The problem with the move bishop e3 is that it makes it hard for us to protect e4. So we have the ability to play like queen e2 if that pawn gets attacked. We don't necessarily have to advance it. Maybe bishop e3 isn't necessary. But it's a blitz game. Okay, it's a move, right? c5, and now he's threatening c4. And so white, doesn't have this. And he doesn't have knight e3. So now suddenly white is worse and discombobulated. So he tries e5. Black handles this very well, very neatly. He plays knight e7. Nice move. Not panicking. You take on d6, I can go to c8 or maybe f5. It's pretty cool. And now Lizard goes nuts with g4, which is insane. But we have a fun. It's just for fun, right? Long diagonal, really dangerous. Knight d5, bishop d2, cd4, cd4, de5, fe5, and now black plays, my opinion, very dubious move. h5. But okay, maybe it's not. Knight g5 is begging to be played. You played it. This is where things get crazy. You could just play g5. I mean, white, I don't know. Got to be better here. No, the engine doesn't agree. The computer actually likes h5. No, it doesn't like h5. It thinks white's overextended, but it doesn't like h5. But after h5, what is the best move? Rook f1. That's impossible to find. That move is impossible to find. Alright, so things get fun now. White plays this. Black now goes nuts with knight f4, and white naturally sacks the exchange. Bishop takes f4, bishop takes h1, and now what? This is a fun game, right? Against the Grandmaster. And white can't castle, but he would like to. I would think you still have a chance to castle queenside. So the obvious suggestion would be something like, I guess, queen d2, maybe queen e2, castle queenside. But instead, Lizard plays this, like manually castling. But the king isn't ostensibly safe here. Bishop d5, and now knight b4. And I think if black had seen that, to be honest, he probably would have gone back to b7. But he wanted to guard against sacrifices like knight takes c6. So here, knight b4 is a nice move. Knight b6, rook c1, and now bishop c4, attacking d4 with check. So there's some crazy stuff here. Maybe you could play knight c6. I would imagine that's the move. It's still some hope. But this, and now black missed queen takes d4 check, or rejected it. So if queen takes d4 check, he rejected it. I'm not sure exactly why. Presumably bishop e3. I guess he figured he's losing a piece. But it's really, really ugly. Probably white's king is not safe at the end of the day. So he should have gone into that, didn't see it. So he played it safe. Bishop takes d3, queen d3, queen d7. Yeah, he was really trying to play safely. And he ends up winning. Rook c6, knight d5, rook d6, and now knight takes b4. Queen f3 hitting the rook, hitting the f-file, queen a7, and now you need something, man. You need something here. Bishop e3, knight d5, he just goes back. We sack the rook. And now e takes d5, and black's going to castle. If you take on d5, black's going to castle. So white just ran out of pieces. Good old fried chicken. Is the analysis free? Free, it's for me. If it's free, it's for me. If you have a game you'd like to share, feel free to share it. I'm fresh out. We don't have a lot of submissions today. It's a slow day at the office. I've been streaming for 2 hours, but I'm willing to stay a little bit longer if we have more games. Where can I share? Well, the best thing to do is to give me the game on Lichess. But you can also put it on Twitch if you want. You can put it in the Twitch chat. But I'm going to need... how do I get rid of this stupid pop-ups? Damn it, dude. Make it go away. Oh my god, I just closed my whole window. Sorry, guys. I am streaming, right? Yeah. Right. But sometimes I don't turn on, like, Lead Chess. Um, the Lead Chess feature where it features your stream, you have to click a button. Sometimes it's not on. It's on. It's on. All right. If you have a game, send it to me. Tomorrow I'm streaming again Blitz challenges tomorrow afternoon. So we'll hang out a little bit longer. We don't have many games. Sadly today, no one's a subscriber. But let's get the gift subs fired up. All of our followers like died or disappeared. We used to have a pretty good stream. But lately, I think geopolitical forces are working against us. Geopolitical and economic forces working against the stream. Where is everybody? Come on, you guys know it's Thursday. I always do analysis stream on Thursday. Where is everybody? Am I missing something here? I don't see any other notifications. Reduce to 8? Nothing. I got no other submissions. No submissions for me today. It's fine. Alright, this will probably be the last one then if I don't get one. From Chicken. Oh, it's your game against me. Very well. That's always possible. What is this? When was this from? Oh, this is you? A3 G6, this was 2 weeks ago. Five. This is 3 weeks ago. When is this playing? Five oh. The time control says 300 plus 0. You challenged me to 5-0 and I accepted it? Oh, that's weird. Okay. So that's very unusual. Alright, so I let it go. It was 5-0. I normally don't do 5-0s. This was played Friday 3 weeks ago. I always play 5 plus with increment, but it was maybe the last game or something. I said, okay, fine, I'll accept it. You played A3. So A3, you know, while it's not a terrible move, it was played by Adolf Anderson in the unofficial, well, Adolf Anderson played it against Morphy. It wasn't a world championship match, but it was like, still, you know, practically like one. Morphy destroyed Adolf Anderson in this match. Anderson was probably the second strongest player in the world. I don't know. But Anderson played A3 famously against Morphy. Now, my argument is that anytime we see A3, G6 has to be good. Particularly here, but also in variations like this. If E4, C5, white plays A3, this G6 is a very strong move. Because if you try to play B4, I have Bishop G7. There's no really good way to answer that. So A3, the thing about G6 is it basically stops. It effectively stops you from playing B3, B4. And so you should kind of give up on that. The next move is fine. D4 is fine. The English is fine too. I think D4 and E4 are probably best in conjunction with A3. I mean D4 and C4, excuse me. D4, C4, you could even play E4, but A3 is not that useful in e4 positions. What are you going to do? Maybe bishop c4, where your bishop has a retreat square back to like a2. So after g6, you play d4. Now I play bishop g7. There's this guy, a grandmaster from France named Eric Prier. And Prier has a strange system that he invented where he does normally d4 move 1. This is called the Prier attack. He liked to play it especially against d5. d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, and a3. He would do this with white. You know, you could guess something like that, but, you know, I benefit from the fact that I haven't played knight f6. I'm not committed to playing knight f6. So now you play b4. And, you know, b4 is probably not terrible. But you have a move that's really marginal, and you have another move that's like not necessary. You know, so you wasted some time. Now I think that my best bet would be to be as direct as possible here. So probably I want to break your center. Another way to approach it would be like, I guess, d5, like a just really classical strong center, but I'm going to get in c5 against you if I could do it somehow. So I think d6 playing for c5 is probably strongest. But I wanted to have some fun, so I decided to play the Dutch. And so your queenside setup with these pawns isn't bad. Isn't that bad. Bishop b2, knight f6, knight f3, castles. Here's a Max Lagarde game with black. Castles, and now normally like e3, c4. Problem is, if you don't play e3, you're not going to have like any control of c4. So some people might play like g3, then the knight I guess goes here, controls c4. e3 is okay. I played d6. Here Max Lagarde played e6. But I'm not of any opinion that that's necessary. I think that d6 is probably a bit more natural. The guy was playing at 2180, and he's 2600. The engine thinks that they're equal, e6 and d6. E6, d6, and b6 are all equally good. b6 also makes a lot of sense to do a double fianchetto focusing on this. After the weird opening, you got a reasonable position. Now, bishop c4 check is provocative. But I didn't intend to play king h8 because, you know, you've got h4, h5, knight g5, all that jazz. This is bad too because it gives up the e5 square, so e6 anyway. Now your bishop's blocking your pawn, which would like to go to c4 maybe later. I decided to castle. But honestly, if I had this to do over again, I might prefer to be less committal about castling. So probably black's best move here is like queen e7. Mr. Coffee, you're here, man. What happened? Wow. Yeah, against a3, Mr. Coffee, welcome our moderator, the Honorable Mr. Coffee. Please stand. Please rise for the Honorable Mr. Coffee. All right. Hey. Yeah, against a3, just pretend you're white. I was taking some liberties by playing the Dutch. Anyways, I committed to no, I'm sorry. I played e6, you castled, right? You castled. It's your turn. My bad. Now it's my turn. I played king h8. All right, this is reasonable. You played knight on bd2, also good. Queen e8 now. I don't know why I went to e8. I was thinking about h6, g5, like that. Well, I do know why. But I'm not sure if it's best. It's also very natural to go queen e7 and support e5 directly. So I don't know. And the problem is, after this, and there's one benefit of this move. There's also this. I'm like having a spastic fit here. There's also this. You know, b5, interesting move for black here. Might even be good. Though weakening a little. Something to think about. I can fianchetto with tempo. You played rook e1. For example, here. But there's a problem. If you get in e4 first, maybe you're better. You know, so the more I think about this, I'm inclined to lean toward this. Rook e1. You know, and I mean, even this move is not out of the, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Queen e8 was a little bit riskier here, and so at this point I decided to try something tricky, and I played e5. And this is vague. I have a vague memory of this. So this is based on tactics. Otherwise I can't get it in time. You'll get in e4 first. Yeah, I forgot about this game. How it went. So I play e5, you takes, and now I have knight d7 or knight g4. This is a very standard idea. Yeah, well, a lot of people are very judgmental. To be honest, I have no idea what they're talking about, because the resulting position here is actually very kind of typical for a Dutch. Anyone that would make that kind of comment is a moron. To be honest, like, both sides played very reasonable in this game. You know, I have an ELO of almost, I was almost 2,500. You know, so I'm not a bad player. You know, not a weak I am. I came close to 2 GM norms, and I did come close to 2,500. So I think that both sides played very reasonably here. But maybe later the game gets very sloppy. I don't remember. So knight to g4. And yeah, no, I don't think there's any flaws, any serious mistakes by either side in this game. h3, knight takes e5, knight e5, d e5, and now you played f4. And f4 surprised me at the time, because I thought it was a bad move. I mean, the point is, if you play e4, I play f4. I can keep your rook shut down. a3 is not a bad move. Okay, so d takes e5. Anyone who says it is like, you know, it's like equal. Maybe after a3, black has like half a tenth of a pawn advantage or something. That's the maximum. Like 0.005 advantage to black after a3. I would imagine this is the maximum, like, disadvantage I could get by playing a3 on move 1. But anyway, you played a really amazing move here, f4. You know, at this point I got cocky. Like, I feel I got a little bit cocky. Yo, your rating is quite low. I'm thinking, okay, it's a blitz game. It's 5-0. I'm having some fun now, but I got carried away. Underestimating white's position. This is very dangerous. So black has to be careful how I handle this. But again, in retrospect, I think the queen would have been better on e7. No, I mean, Adolf Anderson played A3 in the 1800s, man. You know, in the mid 1800s. I mean, it's not like it's a new idea. All right, so F4. Probably here I need to be smart. And I have a lot of options. Like, I could just let you take on E5, probably. I don't even have to, like, do anything. I could play this. This looks like a solid option. Maybe developing. And another move that might be the best is E4. But it was very committal, and I didn't really want to do that. And again, here, like, takes, check, king takes, knight here. And you have threats of, like, queen d4. And again, I'm regretting moving my queen to e8. My queen would have been better on the dark squares. So I think, like, going back, this was a huge inaccuracy to play queen e8. My queen should have been on e7 all the time. Securing this, connecting, you know, my rooks. Queen e8 was too fancy. Anyway, after everything that happens, I play b5. That's also a very risky move. So queen e8 is risky, b5 is risky, and I expected you to retreat one way or the other, but you played instead bishop d5, which I don't know. You know, I don't know if that's a good move or a bad move. Maybe it's a good move. I missed it in you know, in the blitz game. Didn't expect it. It's very subtle. c6, and now bishop a2. So these diagonals are dangerous. And again, if e4, I have no breaks, and you can do something like takes, knight b3 with the idea of queen d4. And my best is, you know, to offer like a trade of queens or something. I think that I'm probably worse here. So I underestimated you. c6, bishop a2, bishop e6, yes. It's like a little too late for this. I guess bishop b6 is a decent move under the circumstances. Takes, and now you took on e5, and I think this is a very bad idea. There's no reason you have to take on e5, is there? I mean, the sharpest move is like e4, but that's probably not good. Yeah, somewhere around here you lost a thread. I mean, maybe bishop d5 really is a mistake. I don't see why, though. Here, you need to find a good move. What is it? Knight f3? I mean, bishop takes e6 gets my queen off the back rank. I don't know. Maybe knight f3? I'm going to take here. Now your rook is awkward, and anyway I get my queen to a good square. Then you have like queen a1, though. I don't know if you want to do that. Maybe it's strong. This queen is badly placed. The rook is badly placed. It ends up looking very stupid for white. Some people have lost some horrible games doing stuff like that. So I don't know. Bishop e6, queen e6, and now fe5, and now I was like, okay. I think I'm okay now. Luckily, knight d7, and then knight f3, and then knight takes e5. Now, my opinion, white is not better any longer. I'm out of the woods, and now you have a bad structure with, well, especially e3. So where, you know, I think the question is like, where did white go from equal to worse? If you want to go to the analysis of this game, get the engine to tell us. It might be interesting. You're like clearly better. Knight f3. The engine says knight f3. But even here it thinks you're better. Yeah, I thought I was kind of out of the woods here. So fe5 is really bad. But why is knight f3 so great? You know, that's the thing that I'm not really getting. I'm not understanding why this is so big an advantage to white. Knight f3, knight d7. It's subtle. I thought maybe e4. It's not clear. I can take on f4, no? Bishop g7, king g7, ef5, queen f5. You have some tactics with knight d4. It's going to require a lot of calculation. So this is really a serious mistake. Pawn takes pawn. Knight d7, knight f3, knight e5. Now I'm okay. And now you're worse. And now here, probably a good move. It should be a draw, but white is going to get tortured if you don't correct the pawn structure somehow. But why exchange on e5 if you don't have to? So you should think long and hard about this. I don't know. Even, oddly enough, even c4 might be a move for white. Well, again, and in the same, at the same time, yeah, c4, for example. Like, the point would be take, takes, rook c1, and it's a draw, probably. You don't want to have any weak pawns, that's all. Queen takes c5 is a slight concession. Queen takes here, a4, maybe that's good enough. Rook e4, a b5, c b5. It's still a draw. Rook a5, rook takes b4. You're a pawn down here, though. There's a famous joke that I made up long ago. What's the problem with the Dutch? The problem with the Dutch is that all rooking games are bad because your king is cut off on the 7th rank. If white gets a rook on the 7th rank in the Dutch, black is screwed. And this is like a perfect example. Look, for example, at this, If rook a1, rook c4, rook a7, rook a7, rook a7, rook ac2. But, I mean, can black win with no king? I have no king because my rook is cut off on the, my king is cut off on the 7th rank. I always joked about that, in the Dutch. I don't normally play the Dutch, but this is a draw, even a clear pawn up, till you went crazy with g4 because you were low on time. g4 and your kingside goes, and then you're just lost. So you lost the game in one move. But until g4, it was a good game. Now it's lost. And objectively, you should not put your king on h1 because you're going to get mated, and it's away from the center. But I guess maybe you didn't really have a choice. I mean, yeah, I guess king f1. It doesn't matter. King f2, check, king e2, check, king d3. You're probably lost, the whole way through after g4. So instead of g4, just play, the normal move, rook a1. If you played rook a1, I would have gone probably rook c4, and we would have reached the following endgame when black is... There's only one way black can win this game, and that would be to get my king over to this side, give up my king side, and queen my b pawn. But that's not really practically possible. Rook b7, rook b2, king g8. I'm sorry, white to move. I don't know, maybe h4 or something. I don't know, king g8, king h2, rook b4, king g3, rook g4 check, king f3. And now, for example, rook takes h4, rook takes b4. It's a draw. I could try to torture you in this endgame. I would play like 100 moves here, but it's still a theoretical draw. Anyway, it wasn't really that bad of a game. Maybe optically it looks like that. Look at the analysis, At the end of the day, black had 95% accuracy. I made 2 inaccuracies. f5 and b5, which I knew was kind of marginal, but I think queen e8 was also an accuracy. If we look at queen e8, let's go back. See, the engine doesn't like queen e8. It likes queen. Actually, it does. It doesn't hate queen e8. But I don't know why queen e7 wouldn't be better than queen e8. I just don't think I had time for queen e8, you know? At the end of the day, this was probably better, but I didn't see how this works, because I can't play bishop b7 without defending my e6 pawn. But, you know, it's interesting when you go back to Max Lagarde, who played, you know, notably, Lagarde's playing a 2200 here with black, and given the choice between d6 and e6, he decides to play e6, where my instinct is to play d6. So who's right? The computer actually said b6. Maybe the computer's right. Because the important square is this one, isn't it? At the end of the day, I want to lock down e4, so you can't play e4. And neither of our moves, his e6 or my d6, solves the problem of locking down e4. So if I play b6 instead, you can do whatever you want. You know, I'm going to go here, double fianchetto, and lock down the e4 square. I was playing for the e5 break, of course, but, you know, the irony was that it's like easier for white to get in e4. So check this out: c4, e6. There's a game, Skomarokian against Piotr Win from 2019. Here's a game: knight c3, bishop b7, white to move, bishop e2, queen e7. This is a normal setup for black. Castles, d6. And now there's a bunch of games. 500. This line, black hasn't lost a single game. And this is interesting, right? 7 games, master database. The computer says white is better by 0.6. And yet white didn't win a single game. First thing you do with Stockfish evaluations, does anybody remember? Mech Time 2020. Yeah, d6 is a support e5, of course. What's the first thing you should do with Lichess evaluations? When you're analyzing, cut them in half, okay? If you cut them in half, they're more realistic from a human perspective. So whatever Stockfish says the advantage is, cut it in half, okay? It says it's 0.6, then it's really 0.3. And then you have a much more realistic evaluation of what you or me or any human player would really want to view the position realistically. Stockfish is just one chess program. It seems to value space too much, to the point where it's not realistic for humans to even be able to use that type of advantage. So anyway, all right. Just some last words before we break off for tonight. That was a good game. It wasn't a 500 game. It was decent, actually. Your opening was very strange. You know, b4 was very strange. I suspect there's some better way for me to play this. I was experimenting with f5. The computer gives me a dubious. It's not the best move, of course. But what is the best move for black, I ask you? Probably d6. But still not so easy. What am I going to do? You know? What am I going to do that's so much better than the game? Instead of f5, what does it want me to play? It's incredible. The computer gives already a huge advantage. But here, d5. Yeah, it's very practical, right? d5. Maybe it plays it in Slav type style, like c6, knight f6, but it's boring to play like that, you know. So it's doing a5 all the time, trying to provoke your queen side to weaken, to attack that that extended fianchetto with b4. Although sometimes playing a5 can be a mistake because I'm playing on like your side of the board or whatever. It's not always good to try to play on the queen side necessarily. Pilly M. Stockfish doesn't even work on my Chromebook. But whatever. The point is that you get the point that Stockfish evaluations are high. Shaki, welcome back. They're high, cut them in half, and you get a pretty reliable evaluation. That's all you have to do. It's a simple life hack, you know. Don't take Stockfish evaluations literally. Cut them in half. It's much more usable that way. If it says you're up 2 pawns, you're up 1 pawn. Whatever, you know. It's just a good life hack. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. That's it for tonight. I'm going to take a break. We're going to be back tomorrow with Blitz challenges around 1 p.m. CEST. So Stockfish says what? Mate in 1? What do I take from that? It's mate in 1. It's right about the mates. That's what you do. It's mate in 2. All right, man. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye. Oh, bye-bye. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe and donate. Bye-bye.